mic was on, apparently. That's funny. That's unfortunate. We don't want you to know what's happening on the other side of the camera. Alright, let's see. Yeah, sorry I was late. We were rushing out to take out the trash. And... oh my god. The worst part about having short hair, your head gets so oily. And I was, like, scrambling because I thought I had spiders all over me. So, you heard everything? God damn it. Time to start that OnlyFans, I guess. Okay. What are we doing tonight? Also, hit that like button. That's what powers the music. So there's a couple things we could go over tonight. I don't think we'll go through all of them. We'll see how my stamina holds out. But there's some we definitely will go over. Alright, let me grab my tea and we'll begin. So someone requested that I go over this. Apparently there's some interesting copyright stuff going on here. I have no idea. I have no idea. I was just made aware of this. So from my understanding, some of Legal Eagle, lawyer YouTuber, one of his editors reached out to one of Illuminaughtii. Naughtii, apparently. One of her editors, asking about some effect they used. And when this reached Illuminaughtii's ears, she claimed publicly that they had committed some kind of copyright infringement. They had stolen their effect. So not at Legal Eagle's editors, rather, broaching my editors to take my video style, and when they didn't give up the info, they literally copied it. And by the way, I have the messages from my editors and found an email from them too. Just changed the color from purple to blue. Huh, interesting. Okay. So I went through my emails and I found this just outright saying, yeah, I'm going to do this, but if you could make it easier for me, I'd appreciate it. So what are we looking at here? Hey Blair, I work as an editor for Legal Eagle. I was wondering if there was some After Effects plugin you guys use for things like the intro to the first NFL video, where the lighter colors appear to stick out in 3D. We could recreate it, but we figured there was probably a faster method you guys were using. Here's the video I'm talking about, just so you know what I mean. That's strange. That's a strange thing to be nitpicky about, just categorically. Am I allowed to post a video essay I made that was inspired by Blair's channel, or is there, like, no self-promotion? Also, is there any way I can talk to one of the video editors I edit for Legal Eagle? I wanted to know how they did a specific effect. You have to be level 2 to post links, the best place. Okay, here we go. So this is the... So it's like a torn paper effect. I see. And they wanted that with the shadow, I guess, and then this is what they did. Wait. These don't look the same at all. Am I crazy? What These aren't the same. It's just the bare fact of using torn paper as a motif. Example B. What are you trying to claim ownership over highlighters? What is this? These aren't even remotely the same. This is nonsense. Are these people seriously asking the best way to steal the style before they steal it? No, they're not. They're literally asking, hey, you did a cool effect. How'd you do that? We want to use something similar for our thing. But what they're talking about is, like, torn paper and like, a realistic highlighter effect. You know, like, replicating mundane, like, a mundane office aesthetic. This isn't like they're stealing, like, the panning Star Wars intro text. They're literally just using, like, hey, you guys did a good job, you know, doing what 100,000 other channels in media do. What was your technique? That'll speed things up a little bit. This wasn't like some like crazy unique thing they were doing. And to be honest, I wouldn't have believed any of this was trying to replicate my videos if not for the email and Discord stuff. That's because it's not. It's not. That was done preempted to their video coming out. Video twice. Like, talk about, can I copy? Wow, what a... This is desperate. Yeah, exactly. Newsflash, YouTuber officially reveals lawyer stole her original idea of torn paper and highlighting words. Jesus Christ, this is embarrassing. Oh, hey, Nick. Like, the idea that she's like some kind of pioneer of the torn paper and highlighter aesthetic is like stroke-inducing. Okay, did Legal Eagle reply? Yeah, here we go. I think this is a misunderstanding. Maybe don't assume ill intent next time. Here we go. This is a big misunderstanding. Perhaps great minds think alike. No one on my team is trying to copy you. Without an exhaustive review of your channel, I believe we used those two styles before your channel did. We used them for 3 to 4 years. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Plus, the two styles of pseudo paper rip and a highlight are extremely common on YouTube. This is true. The editor you're talking about didn't even design either of those two elements. Again, we've used them for 3 to 4 years at this point. Danny is a great and thorough editor. We reached out via email. He was just hoping to find out what plugin. Here's what's crucial about this, right? It's so common that his expectation was that they were using like a variation on a commonly used tool. What plugin you're using, he was not looking to copy anyone's style. Danny's also a freelancer, makes his own videos. In the Discord, the video he referenced was about being inspired by your subject matter, not your style. The video he was referencing was a video of his own, not a legal equal video. Yikes. That's a lot of quote tweets. This is the same MF who stole her editor's car and refused to give it back, by the way. What? She stole her editor's car. Hang on, let me see if I can find something about this. Illuminaughtii smears small YouTuber after being questioned. So this is from today.
That clap.
Okay.
I keep ticking like a metronome in my thoughts.
Let me see some.
Okay, great. That now that's not monetized. Thank you for that. So this is Illuminaughtii on the right here, I guess. Where's the most watched part? Where's the smear? I don't get it. Hang on.
Basically, I was just doing editing for her.
Editing,
do
that
about
was
2
it.
videos a week.
Mm-hmm.
I will give her that. She's not a pinch purse. She did pay really well.
Yeah, she did pay. Yeah, she did do that. Give her that.
She does pay really well, so I'll give her that. Work was good. Then the fallout happened with Shot from the Point and her.
And it reminded me, you came in me
I
like,
said-
don't, you said to me, please don't fuck this up for me. Don't get me involved. And I said, absolutely, I promise. And I never did.
Yeah, right. I said just because I.
You
because I
liked it, though. You told me you had
most of what
fun. You
happened.
enjoyed it. You said you enjoyed being over there. So
Yeah,
you made it
I
from scratch.
enjoyed doing the editing. It
Yeah.
was nice work to do through
Yeah.
the day while playing games. It's
Yeah.
a nice job.
So how did you get let
But-
go? You know?
She came to me after the whole Shot from the Point thing happened. She said, "Is it okay if we keep working together? I know things are going to be a bit awkward." And and I said, "Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. There's no problem." 3 weeks later, I get really bad with my medical condition. Gets really bad.
Yeah.
And I said to her that I can't manage 2 a week, and I had to put videos back a little bit. And she said, "Okay, that's fine. I'll keep you on as a editor."
By the
1
way,
week later-
Xana is in a wheelchair, has a debilitating condition. So it's rare when he gets totally fucking laid up. It's actually pretty rare. But when you get laid up,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do. And she probably knew that if she was on our team. But I just to put that out there. Go ahead, Xana.
Yeah. Then she said, "You're not producing enough videos."
After she told you it was okay.
Yeah, after she told me okay, it was like 2 or 3 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And she said, "You're not putting up enough videos. I think it's time we part ways because the other guys are doing a bit more than you." So
You know what it is?
That's
She
pretty much
got
how it was.
nervous as you were going to stitch on her or something or do something and then use your
Yeah.
fucking little disability against you. What a sweetheart. She was just paranoid. Yeah, I wouldn't have fucking done anything. What was I going to do? You know, all you're doing is editing videos, for Christ's sakes.
yeah.
No. Don't
It's
worry.
not like I was in the Discord talking to him every day, that kind of shit. If I was doing that, then yeah, I could understand her being.
Yeah, more stories, please. I'll be fine. Thank you, Xana.
Here we go. Pull up Slayer.
Solaire? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Solaire.
Illuminaughtii did this before. About a year ago, she went haywire against a then smaller channel called Happy Mind Cruel World for copying her style commentary. Can you send me a link to that? Happy Mind Cruel World.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is going to be a continuation of yesterday's podcast. We've got to get all the details of Illuminaughtii Blair smearing another YouTuber. You can check in the description box below. I'll put the podcast in there. I'll also put it up here in the upper right-hand corner. And we've had an update. Blair has responded to some of the criticism she was getting about Cruel World Happy Mind, who made a critical video about her.
Thank you, Manic Jackson, for the 5 memberships. Much appreciated.
Generally complaining that Blair I can say outright lied.
Much appreciated.
About the contents of a DM, making her out to be a poor researcher, argumentative, accusing her of stealing, and Blair turned around and accused her of subbotting. So we got a hold of that before Cruel Happy Mind decided to take it down under pain of Blair supposedly doing a response video, which would have been really interesting because Blair has yet to address or answer for the fact why did you completely lie about this girl? So Blair found a way to do some damage control, threatened to stream, and all of a sudden they're the best buddies in the whole wide world. So one of my guys, and we occasionally do this, go into people's Twitch streams and ask them, what's up. And I want to show you what her response was. No, I'm going to a little bit of spoiler here. She doesn't answer any specifics or anything like that. She kind of tosses everything up to misunderstanding, which is completely impossible because the DM that she wrote that really set this thing off was tepid, kind, and just a question. And the question was responded with what a horrible YouTuber she was, and then threats that she was supposedly going to debunk it. We haven't seen anything of the sort.
Thank you, Semaphore.
Personally think Cruel Happy Mind just wanted to stay away from a growing 100, 200K YouTuber. And you can hear the arrogance in her voice. You can hear that she doesn't address anything. And she's taking absolutely no responsibility for completely smearing this woman.
So there's this user right now in the chat named Core is here. And
God, I may say my audio mix was bad.
Honestly, like, my mods kind of gave you the answer. We talked about it on Twitter. I posted it on Twitter. It was posted in the community tab. It was posted on Instagram. It was literally posted everywhere. For you to just kind of come here and to try and stir up some more shit.
So, full transparent, of course, one of my guys. And this wasn't from orders from me, but I wish I had thought of it. He'll go in these streams and ask people point blank, call it a form of journalism. And he essentially asked her what her reaction was to the controversy with a Cruel World Happy Mind. And, this is the way she handled it.
Is like, it's pretty immature, but like, go off, I guess. Madison and I chatted for like 3 hours.
I find it funny that a question of hers, a mature question of hers, she also accused Cruel Old Happy Mind of, doing it for views, punching up, the same old nonsense you hear from big YouTubers when they're trying to stifle and silence criticism.
Yesterday, it's something that was clearly stated. We both admitted wrongs. We both essentially explained to each other where the other one was going. She admitted that in her message that, if she received that message, that she would have been upset just like I was. And I admitted, obviously, that I was upset by that message.
That's doing, you admitted that you're upset? That's admitting. Did you admit the fact that you made up a bunch of nonsense, lied about the contents of the message in public on a podcast? So she admitted that she would have been upset, and I admitted that I was upset. Well, what about what you said when you got upset?
And as probably many of you know, I do not answer Instagram DMs for shit.
Oh, yes, you do. You do it on a podcast where you can take it out of context.
So I just kind of left it alone. And we kind of came to this agreement after talking it out for like 3 hours that we were just like, well, so we were both angry at each other over something that had nothing to really be angry about. And then we were like, well, we both look kind of goofy right now. And I told her,
we both. I have to remind you that Cruel World's Happy Minds original video pointed out that she wasn't angry. She was asking, Blair, did you lift the contents of my video and put it in your own? It was a question. It was very tepid. And even in the same mean letter that she sent her, she said, look, you might get accused of this all the time from smaller YouTubers, but I just wanted to know if this happened. It's really too funny. This is very creative damage control by Illuminaughtii.
her like I was making a joke out of things because I thought it was so insane, and then we both talked about like our research, and I was like, for me, researching is just like super important, and she's more conversational, and we both kind of understood that we have like different audience.
Okay, I think we get the idea. So this is comical. It's comical. Let's see, where were we here? Ooh. Interesting. Let's see here. So, oh, excuse me, sorry. H-Bomber guy. Just to clarify, one of Legal Eagle's editors asked one of your editors what plugin they used for a personal video they were working on for their own channel. I take plagiarism really seriously, so I'm interested in an explanation of what exactly is wrong here. Personally, Illuminaughtii would define... I would define plagiarism as something a bit more specific. For example, copying someone else's documentary directly into your script.
Professor Hugh Fudenberg.
Professor Fudenberg has long been controversial.
A man named Hugh Fudenberg, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse and misprescribing of controlled drugs.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs.
Professor Hugh Fudenberg.
Professor Fudenberg has long been controversial.
A man named Hugh Fudenberg, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
Oh my
In
God.
1989, he was caught up.
Jesus Christ, that's actually plagiarism. That's actually just full-on plagiarism. So she's just a psycho. Like she just steals people's stuff, and then predatorily goes after other people whenever she has the opportunity. She's nuts. She's actually just nuts. What is this? Yeah, just an absolute nutball. And a plagiarist. That's the funny thing. You got to admire like the sheer brazenness though. When you're going to engage in that, like this is plagiarism. This is actual plagiarism here. It's wild that you would engage in this, and then you would go after the editors of smaller people though they are, the editors of very large channels as well for the same thing. That's just insane. Especially given, like, this is like a million sub channel, right? I think she's at like 1.7 million. Like at that stage you're sitting comfy. Because there's not a whole lot to say here, just awful individual, and I regret learning of her existence. Thank you to the cruel individual who requested I cover this. So yeah, in summation, Illuminaughtii, this weird purple person, lit up some small, independent, freelancing video editor for daring to ask for some editing advice to recreate her patented, original, one-of-a-kind highlighter technique and torn paper borders. And then got caught by H Bomber guy for full-on stealing the script from another creator's documentary. Looks like the video I was referring to has been deleted, though the Tommy C video does bring up parts of that drama. I personally don't trust her since this drama, yeah. I wouldn't trust anything about this individual. She seems like a psycho. President Sunday, I saw one Twitter reply that claimed she writes her scripts by crowdsourcing from Discord, as in her community just writes it for her. See, here's the thing, though. If her community wrote it for her, I could buy that. And that'd be cheap and sleazy for other reasons. But, especially if she's not, like, mentioning it. Like, if you're doing that and you're explaining what you're doing, that's fine, whatever. When you're not, that's like, I don't like that. But, if that was the case, I wouldn't expect some rando to just, like, lift the script from another person's documentary and give it to her to be unaccredited. That seems to me like an excuse to avoid responsibility for this. But like, her style is not unique. It's not very good. It's pretty basic and like what is it? Torn paper and a highlighter. That's like the motif of any number of things. It's a basic office wear look. Oh hey Aiko. Oh know what happened? Large legal YouTuber called Illuminaughtii lit up some small editor for plagiarism, quote unquote, because they asked for advice on how to recreate a torn paper effect for a video border and a highlighter effect. And then after being lit up herself for this, because it's just a nasty, scummy thing to do to a small freelancer, just for asking, like, you know, basic editing advice, which is very common in these spaces, it came out that she was stealing the scripts whole cloth from other creators herself. So it's just like Cruella de Vil tier. Also, between you and me, if I was to make frivolous accusations, I wouldn't pick a channel called Legal Eagle. It's just wouldn't be, you know, wouldn't be my target of choice. Her research is total garbage anyway. She gets basic facts wrong all the time. Well, that's the thing. People generally, especially creators, they aren't bad people because they're dumb. They're dumb because they're bad people. Because if you don't give a shit about anybody, and you're greedy, and you're callous, what is there to actually hold you to a good work ethic? What's there to make you actually double check your sources and make sure you're not telling people lies? Because unless you care about them, you're not going to care about that. Seems to me. And she's got 1.7 million subs. Very shitty. I must balance the scales here. How do you intend to do that, Aiko? Also, serious, what do you mean, why do I stream so late? This is my second stream today. You gotta follow the notifications. You all have to hit the bell. Clearly, some of you are not getting notified. Or you're all too busy watching Wix Riz off. Thank you, Manic Jackson, for the additional 5 gifted subs. Much appreciated. Well, so much for that. That was a thing. Let us not imitate that. The worst part is that she has connections to a bunch of lefties. She does a podcast with Lance, Matt Binder, Humus Report, and others. Lance was even... Oh, no. Was Lance defending her? Oh, no. Guys, don't be boneheads. I hate when people pile in to defend their buddies in this. Like, it's just dumb. The serfs. Let's look up the serfs. What have they done now? God damn it. Lance out here being a savage and making amazing points. When is this from? 2 days ago. Oh, okay, well that's good. But hang on, were they defending her for this? Dude, it's very shady behavior, at least own up to it. I normally love your stuff, but this ain't it. My brother in Christ. She literally stole the script from another creators doc. Oh, Lance. You silly lad. Illuminaughtii is actually generally pretty great. She definitely is not Brooks. Yes, she is. Look, here's the deal, okay? Here's my position on this. Pretty great is not predating on smaller people in a vindictive and callous fashion. And frankly, to be honest with you, the better material she does on top of doing that, the worse I consider that to be. Because what I really don't want to happen is for really strong arguments in favor of things that I think are really important to be attached to that. So this needs to not happen anymore. Especially if she's being caught ripping people off. Because here's something else. Consider this, Brooks. If she's ripping off other people's scripts, then what is she really that great on, right? What if what she's great for is stuff that she's stolen? Because what Legal Eagle's editor was doing wasn't theft. He was asking for advice about a technique. A very common technique, which apparently Legal Eagle was doing before her. Anyways, kind of begs the question why he didn't ask Legal Eagle's other editors for that, but neither here nor there. She stole a script. That's the actual intellectual content. That's the part that I care about. If she's stealing scripts, or if she's allowing herself to steal scripts, I would now start reevaluating where she's getting her information from, because maybe what's great about her is actually something that's great about somebody else. You know? That's my immediate concern. I know you're not defending her, sorry. I just like putting you on the spot and making you uncomfortable because it makes me feel powerful and important. What was the script she stole? Let me, oh fuck, let me find it. Oh, wait, it's back here. Here it is, sorry. So this is H-Bomber guy uploaded this.
Professor Fudenberg.
So this is somebody
Professor
called...
Fudenberg.
Oh my god, stop. So this is somebody called Brian Deere who had a documentary.
Professor Hugh Fudenberg.
Professor Fudenberg has long been controversial.
A man named Hugh Fudenberg, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse and misprescribing of controlled drugs.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs.
Yeah, see? So it's almost word for word. So that's what that is. Brian Deere is a reporter, FYI. His documentary on anti-vax stuff was the first in the business. Oh, I didn't know that. Is the lab discussion still happening? As far as I'm aware, on May 2nd. Oh, is my screen still minimized? God damn it. Oh, I'm in the wrong business. Here. Sorry, Aiko. We'll watch it again. Fuck. Okay.
Professor Hugh Freudenberg.
Professor Freudenberg has long been controversial.
A man named Hugh Freudenberg, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
Have a good night, Manic.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse and misprescribing of controlled drugs.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs.
Professor
How many times that happened, though? Well, that's the question, isn't it? We don't know. Like, I imagine you'd have to search. But this is one of those things where you don't do that. You certainly don't do that when you're at this scale, unless you've been doing it for a long time. This is a habit at this point. When you're established like this, pay people to make original content. You can do that. This is a 1.7 million sub channel. She's pulling in views like crazy. She can afford to pay somebody a few $100 to write a couple scripts a week. It's not that hard. This is not like heady material, right? So, hey Demon Mama, how you doing? Always send her anti-MLM videos to people, though. She has a good takedown vid for you to send to family and friends who could suck it in. Yeah, maybe. Like, once again, my immediate question after this, granted, I'm a deeply suspicious person most of the time. My immediate thought after this is like, you know, maybe it is a great anti-MLM video. I hope the script was written by her. I hope it's actually her video that you're sending around, you know? But why is the woman repeating to the man? That is the million-dollar question, no truce. She has people writing her scripts now, and she doesn't edit. She only voices her videos. That's a better question. Why is she doing that? No offense to the lady, but that is not a voice I would pay for. I'd get somebody else. Hell, you know what? I could use the boost. I'll do it. I'll do it. $1,000 a month. I'll voice a couple of videos a week. I hate finding this shit too, Brooks. It's a nasty, depressing world out there. Okay. Well, that's a thing. Aren't you Aren't we all feeling happy about the state of humanity? Speaking of which, I need more tea. But what we're gonna watch next is this is interesting. This is released earlier today, so by Rationality Rules, famous friend of the channel. Somebody wanted more religious content, or content on religious politics. Rationality Rules has actually produced something decent by the looks of it, and it is blissfully short. Apparently the Daily Wire, what I'm understanding by this is that they fabricated a study that suggests that religion reduces suicide rates. It provides some kind of protective buffer. Not language a responsible study would use, by the way. That's a very, very bold claim. I'm going to go refill my tea. The air is still poison, unfortunately, and then we will dig into this. And dates it at 2018. That's interesting. How old's the video they're responding to? Do they have a link to it? References.
From the National Institutes of Health,
Month ago. All this is recent. Okay. Cool. Brilliant. I like it when things are new. Okay, I'm going to replace my tea. I'll be right back. Okay. Oh my god, this video. Serious, do you know about this? You're sounding like you expect things. Okay. Well. Serious, if you want to pop on, you're welcome. No pressure. What kind of tea and do you take sugar? Typically Earl Grey. However, I've had 3 cups of coffee today, so I'm just having chamomile. Plus, it's better for allergies. This isn't fun. What would be fun for you, Brooks? How can I entertain the grown adults tonight? Tea, Earl Grey, hot, exactly. Thanks for the membership, Semaphore. Alright, engage.
If you're a fan of Dennis Prager and or The Daily Wire, I think you're going to want to see this. What follows is a segment from a video we recently produced on the notion that the religious are happier than the non-religious. But it deserves a spotlight because, by my lights at least, it's proof that Dennis Prager and The Daily Wire think that their audience, you, are idiots. Put it this way, if one of the sources I tend to visit did what you're about to see, I'd have a very serious problem. Here it is. You make of it what you will.
So let me give you some data from the National Institutes of Health, National Library of Medicine. Data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs is associated with lower rates of suicide. Would you say that that's significant? A number of factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. That's all. That's all religion gives you. Let's review that. Enhanced social support, less substance abuse.
Oh. Hey, serious. Alright, come on. Gonna be difficult. Hey, one sec. How do I... Where's the... Where's the frickin'... Where's the thing? Why can't I pop it out? Where's the button? What is this? I don't understand. Why can't... There's literally no button to... Oh, I think I need to turn my camera on. And then, oh, then I can pop it out. I see, of course. Okay, don't turn your camera on. You're in bed still. But
I actually got out of bed, but I'm also not turning my camera on because I'm in a bathrobe. So.
Well, I'm also in a bathrobe, coward. Hang on one sec.
But I don't have like a shirt underneath of my bathrobe.
I mean, I don't. Neither do I.
Okay, well, whatever. Fuck you.
Fine.
I don't want to turn my camera on.
Okay.
I don't need to justify myself to you.
I mean, there's more money in it. Like you've like got the audience all worked up now. Okay. Let me share my screen.
Currently, it's just OBS with a cross mark.
Apparently. Oh. Yeah. Here we go. Your audio is a little low.
How's it now?
Still pretty low. I'm gonna boost you a little bit. I think. Are you using your usual microphone or?
Unless it's disconnected again, that would be. Hold on. Testing. Is that better?
Yeah, it sounds really low and tinny. Like you're usually a lot clearer.
That's weird. Oh wait, shoot. Wait, what? Is it not? Frickin'. Second.
Is that no? That's terrible still.
Now, how about now?
Ah, that's better. Perfect.
There we go.
Beautiful. And now you're silent
Sometimes.
again.
Oh, yeah, I am?
I'm silent?
No, now you're better. We're just hearing humming now.
Oh, that's just... I can't turn that off.
Okay,
That's
don't. We're good. We're good. Don't mess with it, okay? Okay, it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works. Just, we'll count our blessings here. All right, can you see in here?
Yes, I can.
All right, let's go through this. I'm going to go back a couple seconds, and we'll just go through the whole thing, okay?
Yeah.
It's 4 minutes long. We'll be fine. We will live.
I know.
Fan of Dennis Prager and or the Daily Wire, I think you're going to want to see this. What follows is a segment from a video we recently produced on the notion that the religious are happier than the non-religious. But it deserves a spotlight because, by my lights at least, it's proof that Dennis Prager and the Daily Wire think that their audience, you, are idiots. Put it this way, if one of the sources I tend to visit did what you're about to see, I'd have a very serious problem. Here it is. You make of it what you will.
So let me give you some data from the National Institutes of Health, National Library of Medicine. Data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs is associated with lower rates of suicide.
Data? Shut up.
Would you say that that's significant? A number of factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including enhanced social support, less substance abuse.
Okay, as a recently religious person, this is not true.
Yeah, and also just to
yes,
just to say, like, the mistake that Prager is making here is that he's trying to associate religion with these other things aside from suicide rate, and trying to say that religion is causing you to have less psychopathology, to have less substance abuse, and etc.
Yeah.
And that's mostly what, I guess, spoilers, that's mostly what Stephen is going to attack. But I feel like he misses the point in the end. So anyway, you can continue now.
Stephen does.
Stephen, sorry, his name is Stephen. Rationality rules is Stephen. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. You're saying Stephen does.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Of psychopathology. That's all. That's all religion gives you. Let's review that.
It's like a marshmallow made of chicken.
Enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. That's pretty powerful.
Do you want to know what's actually pretty powerful?
Jesus.
Showing the title of one study, namely Religion and Suicide, New Findings, but when zooming in, showing an abstract from a completely different study. A study titled Religious Beliefs Buffer the Impact of Depression on Suicide Ideation.
They are two different studies.
There are two different studies. This is the title of this one is shooting up red flags regardless of who's using it. I don't know how on earth you would determine this. Religious beliefs buffer the impact of depression on suicide ideation.
Well, you would determine it by controlling for other factors, I imagine.
Well, here's the problem though. Like when you're dealing with something like this, you're dealing with factors. The types of factors we're talking about here are things that require consensus about concepts of affect, of the relationships between things and what these mental things are, that I don't think you could sustain in a study. I don't know how they would establish this. It's going to be suspended on so many wild assumptions. A title like this just seems baffling to me. Religious beliefs buffer the impact of depression on suicide ideation. Like, just think about how complex this is. Religious beliefs. What the fuck is a religious beliefs? Buffer. What do you mean by that? The impact of depression. That could mean so many different things, leaving aside the fact that even what is depression is not necessarily like universally agreed upon. On suicide ideation, once again, super complex phenomena, probably many different phenomena under a single umbrella. Like, there's no way in hell. You could not study this meaningfully at this level of analysis.
I mean, so first of all, already you've given like a more thoughtful critique than Stephen will in this entire video. So, you know, I think that speaks to why I didn't really jive with this video much. But if we read the abstract, it says depression and suicide ideation co-occur regularly. The present study investigates whether religious beliefs, i.e. trust in higher guidance, offers the association between depression and suicide ideation. And then 427 people fill out a survey to test for suicide ideation, trust in higher guidance, and depression. So not like the greatest study design of all time, for sure.
Like, what is trust in higher guidance? What does that even mean? What is trust, for that matter? What on earth does any of this mean? Like, you'd have to do so much work just to establish, just to justify any of this language. It's ridiculous. Like religion and suicide, new findings. See, this would make sense. This is something you can do. It's a basic statistical study. People who identify as religious, do they report feeling suicidal? And you can break down what that means afterwards. But like, you can get some, you know, potentially meaningful or useful information out of that. This thesis is absurd. It's absurdly presumptuous. This is so reaching.
I wonder interesting psychiatry press. I don't know what journal that is.
Oh, and you know what's interesting too? This more modest one, this is from 2021. This one's from 2017.
Oh, geez, this is like.
Oh, sorry, hang on, wait. This is 2018 up here. Oh, that might be the access time. So this is from 2018. Yeah, I think this is the date of the study published.
Yeah,
right?
It's a year later.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So not that far later. So I guess this is the yeah. So it was published as an
That's
or
really
downloaded as an
interesting.
EPUB in 2021. Okay.
This is really interesting. I also think it's kind of interesting that, as far as I can tell, the second one is published in a much more prestigious journal for whatever that says about the state of psychiatry as a field.
PragerU, religion, and mental illness. That sound fair? Lyco's telling me to change the title. Okay, we'll just run with that.
To make this clearer, here on the left you can see the study that Dennis reads the title of, and on the right you can see the abstract of a completely different study he zooms into.
Here, what is the actual, does he actually read, hang on. So the abstract for the first one. Suicide rates and risk and protective factors vary across religions. There has been this is another thing, by the way, like vary across religions. So much will be changed based on how you partition quote-unquote religions from each other, how you understand like the borders between these things. There has been a significant increase in research in the area of religion and suicide since the article Religion and Suicide reviewed these issues in 2009. This current article provides an updated review of the research since the original article was published. Databases research. Epidemiological data on suicidality and risk and protective factors across religions are explored. Updated general practice guidelines are provided, and areas for future research are identified. See, this is a responsible, if still a little bit conceptually fraught, study.
I don't know why we're studying this when Durkheim solved this question so many years ago already.
Fuck, you're right. That's all.
Except it's not all, is it, Dennis? Because you didn't just read a completely different abstract, but evidently added your own paragraph to it.
Oh.
Yeah. Here, on the left, is what the actual study's abstract states, whereas here, on the right, is the screenshot Dennis shows and reads out to his audience.
That's interesting. Now here's the thing, though. Here's where I'm a little bit skeptical, okay? So, the title of this study, I'm a little bit skeptical of rationality rules assumption that Dennis Prager himself added this in. Not that I trust Dennis Prager. Not that I don't trust Dennis Prager. Orders of magnitude less than to do rationality rules, which, let me tell you, is a statement. But because the title is already presumptuous, the methodology already seems just immensely problematic for reasons I've already said. And the last sentence of the abstract already says, quote, trust in higher guidance seems to confer resilience and should be taken into account when assessing individuals for suicide risk, unquote. So when Prager says, data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs is associated with lower rates of suicide. A number of factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including
clear,
enhanced social support. Like, these don't seem out of tune with each other.
To be clear, just so we're clear, rationality rules says that Dennis Prager added this paragraph, but what it's actually the case is that he took that paragraph from a third distinct study. So it's not.
Okay. So we have a source for this third paragraph.
Yes, we will when we watch.
Okay.
On.
So okay.
It's not. He didn't like totally editorialize it.
No. But he also did though.
Yeah.
See. So the crucial point here is not that he aggregated and like put different quotes next to each other, right? That'd be bad enough if he wasn't like being clear about where they were from, but he's making it appear as if these are part of the same document, and he's using a highlighter function to like note. So yeah, okay, so that's. Well, here's the weird thing though. It's unnecessary because once again, like the final sentence of the original paragraph already has more or less the same meaning of the thing he added in. So it's like it's dumb.
I think the reason that he used this one is because I think that Prager wanted to be able to link it to lack of social support, less substance abuse, and higher rates of psychopathology, which of course is meant to explain. These are factors that are supposed to explain the differences. They're not being proposed as things that religion confers onto you. It's just that it's a proposed explanation. But anyway, I would say that let's just keep watching because he does go into it like a tiny bit.
You can even see above his added paragraph that it's the same abstract. It's even got the same font, same hex colors, and the same keywords. So did Dennis and his team add their own text to a study to bolster their case? Are they seriously that crooked? Well, if we check the Wayback Machine, we can see that the site hasn't changed since it was published, which is standard for studies. And if we Google the text that Dennis and the Daily Wire have added, we can see just one result comes up. But get this, it's
I don't know. I don't know if that is standard for studies. I think sometimes like corrections are added for studies and editorial notes and things like that. That does happen, right? Like that's not.
That does happen. It's though corrections, they're somewhat rare. But it's also just like, who's keeping track of that shit on the Wayback Machine?
Here's the thing, right? Like it's a question of, okay, here, clarification of studies that are read. Yeah. Although this is the kind that would be
another study, a study titled "Religiosity as a Protective Factor Against Suicidal Behavior," a study whose conclusion reads. Religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts, which is independent of social functioning, psychopathology, and substance use. But what Dennis did was take the objective and then paste.
Thank you, Not Brooks, for the $5. Fascists don't care about hypocrisy or lies. Debunking this doesn't matter. Emperors are not only allowed to be nude, they love it. Oh, I don't want to think about Dennis Prager without clothes on. Thank you for that, Brooks.
Yeah, so this is like legitimately correct. Like he did.
Yeah.
But the problem is that what I think Steven fails is that this is basically all he does. He just points out the fact that he took it from the objective statement. But like if you go down to the conclusion statement, just like rewind a tad bit for that. So the conclusion of the study is that religiosity has a protective effect against suicide that's above and beyond social functioning, psychopathology, and substance use, which is basically and again, we can poke holes in the study design, but my point and like my frustration with this video is that Steven kind of just leaves it at, PragerU like bungled the sources up and mixed and matched sources and didn't say it right, as opposed to like
whereas like here's what Dennis could have done. PragerU could have like literally just used been appropriately used the studies and still reached that same massively problematic conclusion, which a study like this actually can't substantiate because it's going to be so conceptually fraught.
Exactly. So, and that's what frustrates me is that it's like, it's only convincing to someone who cares about like these small technical details. It's not actually debunking the broader point that Prager is making. Like anybody who can read this is going to say, "Oh, well, even Steven has to even Steven has to recognize
that's his canonical name now. Rationality Rules is now called Even Steven. Sorry, continue.
Exactly, but like he has to, like, the conclusion of the study still says that religiosity has a protective effect against suicide. So it's like checkmate, Rationality Rules. You didn't debunk the whole thing. And to be fair, Rationality Rules doesn't really debunk the whole thing, because he doesn't go into detail about the study methodology or, you know, talk about the fraught category of religion in any substantive way. He just kind of leaves it hanging and just leaves it at, well, he changed the source. And to be fair, like, I have a very low opinion of Rationality Rules, so I'm not saying he would do good coverage of this kind of stuff, but I think it speaks to, like, maybe his intellectual attitude towards these kinds of things, as a, like, where he doesn't really care about tackling.
Well, okay, well, maybe he's just not equipped to do so. Like, he's not. Rationality Rules is not, unfortunately, ruled by rationality, and he's not particularly good at breaking apart, like, complicated things like this. He's fairly basic. Power to him, nonetheless, for highlighting this. I wouldn't have known about it otherwise.
Yeah, I don't mind that he highlighted it.
But he's given us an opportunity, because you know what we can spend an entire stream doing? Is literally going over just a long list of these.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a thing I can do, so maybe we'll do that sometime.
Not tonight, please, not tonight.
No, you're in for the long haul. You fucked up royally, my friend. You are now. This is just how your night is gonna go. That's just how it is. No, we'll do another night. I don't have the energy for it either. Besides, we have other stuff to watch, so let's finish this.
Take the objective and then paste it into another study to present it as if it's the conclusion, and to then paste both of these slices under the title of a third study.
Would you say that that's significant?
Yes, I would. In fact, I'd say that it's a damn disgrace. I cannot understate how unethical and immoral this is. The paper they steal the objective from even states, contrary to Dennis, that there were no differences in social functioning or rates of psychopathology among the study groups.
And lower rates of psychopathology.
So there you have it, folks. Dennis and the Daily Wire...
See, that's a lie. So that's right. So it's good he highlighted that.
Yeah, I'm glad that he highlighted that.
So here's the thing. Like, the complaint here is not that Rationality Rules did a bad job, quote-unquote. The complaint is that Rationality Rules had a more important task that he bypassed in order to deal with the bare fact of one actor using a fraught genre of highly popular propagandistic study. When the study itself as a genre is something that should be addressed. I think that would actually be useful to go over at some point, though. That probably like to give sort of like a video essay kind of approach like this.
Justify their bigotry that they've cherry-picked a title from one study, an abstract from another study, and digitally stitched
Oh my god, look at this absolute heinous bastard stealing Illuminaughti's highlighting effect.
Oh my god.
Unbelievable. What? You can't trust anyone these days.
I know. All these men trying to piggyback on the hard work of a woman, you know? Can you believe it?
For shame, Steven. More like crooked Steven.
So true.
Uneven Steven. Evil Steven, even.
Is evil Steven even?
He's not even a Steven. He's an evil Stevel.
In the objective from yet another study as to present it as a conclusion.
That's all.
That is absurd. Utterly breathtaking.
Who laughs like that?
Also, okay, wait, hold on. I want your opinion on this. Go to his YouTube channel.
Whose?
Rationality Rules.
We're on his YouTube channel. What am I looking for?
Yeah, but I mean his like video feed.
But I don't want it. Okay. Hang on.
No, but hold on. I want your opinion on something. So go to his videos.
Yeah.
I feel like he's using AI art to generate these thumbnails. Like, am I crazy here? Because these thumbnails look heinous. They look heinous.
Serious.
Yeah.
I use AI art for some of my thumbnails.
Yeah, but these ones are like you don't ask them. You don't. Here's the thing. I'm not.
Okay.
anti-AI
Oh, no.
art,
Okay.
but,
No. I use AI to generate assets that I then use in my art. Sometimes. Most of the time, I don't actually. But I have in the past, like those cathedral things that Brooks made. Those are fantastic. I love those.
No, and I know the one, like the one, your avatar with like the full top hat and like the book behind it is an AI extension. But like, look at how heinous these thumbnails are. Like
it's like something it looks like Mad Magazine, but like zombified.
I know. That's what I mean. Is that like you're not asking the AI to generate like real human people. Like these things are just horrifying.
Yeah, probably. Like this one here with the crown, that looks like an AI generated piece. This looks like an AI generated piece. If it wasn't, it would take a lot of work to do.
Yeah. To be clear, I'm not anti AI art. I just like
No. But like this one here, for example, like I don't think he's really...
I don't think that's AI. That seems
Well, I exactly. Like that's just like and like I don't think the text would be AI either. I think it's just I think he's probably using it to generate like weird faces, and that's fair play. It sticks out like it's I don't think I would click on this just because of how like both ugly and banal it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not. I've seen worse. I've seen worse.
Stephen Woodford is his name. I hate this guy. He's so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did we leave off? Did we end the video?
We were at 4 minutes. I don't think there's anything substantive left in the video.
Well, let's just in the name of thoroughness, let's finish this.
Breathtaking.
Breathtaking.
Look,
you're breathtaking.
I can understand if you disagree with me, but if you endorse this level of manipulation, God help you, because your conscience...
There is no God.
Sure as hell can't. Now, what if I told you that this level of manipulation is a frequent occurrence from Dennis, PragerU, and the Daily Wire? That they assure you that it's secular, atheist people like me that are deprived, manipulative, and consider you foolish, which I don't. Yet it's them that manipulate data, and, by extension, you, by trusting that you won't question their reporting.
I mean, that's quite a bold thing for you to say, plagiarist.
They treat you like mushrooms, keeping you in the dark and feeding you shit.
Yes, dude, this
God,
is horrifying.
that upper lip is so disturbing to look at. It's like sandpaper.
Yeah.
Ugh. And the pupils, like, look closely at them. They aren't actually facing any direction. They're just like mercury.
They don't respect you.
That's all.
Look, guys. A-art is disgusting. Look at this.
Well, if you'd like to see more instances of such manipulation, then consider watching our playlist on Dennis Prager.
Nah, I think I'm good. Okay. Have a good night, Sirius. Get out of here.
I'll get out of here. Goodbye.
Get out. Bye.
Oh, let me stop watching. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Everybody, do it. Do it. I'm going to have a video someday on beating your kids. It's going to be great. Goodbye.
God, the people who watch my channel are weirdos. Alright. What's next on the docket? How long have we been going? It's been, hasn't been that long. It's like an hour and a half. Yeah, we're doing good. That's the wrong button. I want to get rid of this one. There we go. What is this, Brooks? You sent me something. What am I looking at here? Oh, here's the actual study. Okay. I don't know if we'll look at this. Let me just glance at this quickly. So this says religious beliefs buffer the impact of depression on suicide ideation. Methods. Oh, it looks like they're not even attempting to define what the terms of the survey are. Like, look, those participants who reported high levels of trust and higher guidance were a little less likely to experience suicide ideation even at higher levels of depressive symptoms. I don't know how you would determine this from a survey. Okay, hang on, let's look here quickly. So, let's just read the methods. I just want to see what this is. Sorry for anyone who's bored by this. I just want to understand what's going on here. So, data was derived from 2 samples in Germany. Sample 1, online sample. The first sample was an online sample of N, 334 participants. 76%. I don't know how to read this. Participants were recruited through postings at 2 universities as well as social media. Age, I'm just interested in what was on the surveys. Age ranged from 18 to 77 years with a mean of 30.78. 35 participants had a suicide ideation score. Few participants were Muslims. Most were Protestants, Catholics, or non-religious. Few were Muslims, or of other denominations. Why other So other denominations of Christianity? Is that what they mean, or is that how they're classifying them as? Is that how they're classifying other religions? All partisans were Caucasian. Like, maybe that will control for things like, or that needs to be controlled for. Second sample. Mean is 42, so a bit of a different age range. All Caucasian again. Fewer Muslim, a little bit more than last time. Most are Protestant, Catholic, or non-religious. So here's why I'm like immediately perplexed. Like, what does non-religious mean? Depending on what you mean by religion, that can mean a number of different things. That can mean they were Buddhist. That can mean they were atheist. That can mean they were agnostic. That can mean they were functionally, like they could have a belief in God and not characterize it in the language of a higher power or the language of God or something like that. Like, could be more virtually identical to the belief of a Catholic. There are people who treat like beliefs in UFOs that way, or in alien overlookers or whatnot. At this point, online surveys can't even pretend to be random samples, as phone surveys used to be more or less, yeah. Just have me on and I can tell you. Okay, well, you can come on and humiliate me then, Brooks, if that's your fetish. Yeah, I'm bringing Brooks on. If he answers his Discord, which would be lovely. Hey.
I'm not interested in coming on and humiliating you. That would be ridiculous.
Of course.
Can you hear me?
I can now. You were a little bit muffled before.
Well, that's okay.
I couldn't hear you, but I'm sure you were I'm sure you were saying something very stupid anyway. So
no, okay. I was saying I have no interest in coming on. It's specifically what they're dealing with is there's a psychological test that they give people who are facing end of life sort of experiences, cancer, the wrong kind of anything really health wise, and there's basically a 5-point test that sort of measures whether or not that person has a belief and how they define higher power, but in a higher power. And it's specifically about the strength of just the idea of whatever happens, I will trust in this blank to carry me through, that this thing will get me through it. So it's the belief in higher power is the sort of idea of faith that you will persevere through whatever you're going through. And they kind of, answer a 5-6 question thing.
So were these just very quickly? So their sample was not comprised solely of people who were experiencing some kind of terminal illness or some kind of like long-standing thing.
No. So here's the thing.
Okay.
No, they
Okay, I misunderstood you first. Sorry, go on.
So the test they give is a survey they give people commonly who are experiencing end of life or traumatic diagnoses, illnesses, things like that. They applied that test, taking diagnoses of depression and suicidality to be the same type of sort of end of life or threat, and then used the self-report scale in the same way to measure that, where I will continue, I will get through my suicide, I'll get through depression, I have faith that I can get through whatever's happening.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not so much, that's how they define higher powers, that there is something more powerful than me that will get me through this thing.
Right, okay.
And
So
specifically, I can link to that study and the questions, and you can sort of dive through. It's not actually that wild of a thing. It's a really interesting sort of thing. It's about sort of the trust in the higher power and the trust in this sort of
Okay, so the language of higher power is unfortunate, but what they're measuring is something a bit more grounded.
Yeah, it's a trust in a higher guidance, a higher something. So there's like the words they have are like reflection, search, trust. I just read it like while you guys were.
Oh, here we go. I found it right here. So spirituality and religiousness and dealing with illness, trust in higher guidance, subscale. 5-item self-report scale designed to measure a patient's conviction to be connected with a higher source. Okay, I like higher source. The language of higher is still a bit, but whatever happens, I will trust in a X, which carries me through. I think I would probably gone with that. Scores on each item range from 0 to 4, with higher scores indicating greater trust in X, good convergent validity as well as internal consistency. Have been demonstrated in a sample. Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's reasonable.
It's actually a really interesting sort of setup, and the thing here, and it's why, I mean, again, Prager doesn't give a shit that he's wrong. He doesn't give a shit. He's happy to lie. He doesn't give a fuck. But what's interesting about the study very specifically is that they do find, and the studies they source bear this out, because this is kind of also a combination of meta study. The studies that sort of bear out this idea that people who do have that higher level of conviction, they do get through suicide. But again, they get through, I think, a lot of things in a very different position because they naturally believe they'll come out the other side. So there's a lot happening there that I don't think is necessarily religious as a thing.
Well, that's where I'm having trouble with this as well. See, like the language of this makes this really amenable to a propaganda for like someone like Dennis Prager who wants to say like religious people have some kind of sociological
apply
advantage.
to me where I went through significant amounts of suicidal ideation and excessive extreme depression, and a big thing that sort of got me through that is not so much my belief in a higher power, that isn't how I would phrase it, but an idea that this too shall pass, or that I will get through this, and that sort of odd emotional intensity that accompanies such a belief.
Yeah.
And that would apply here, by the way. That would be a high score on this test.
Yeah. Well, you could almost put like... It seems like what the way I would want to unpack this a little bit is it seems they're conflating investment in something sort of that's conceived as being beyond oneself, and or the reassurance of something beyond oneself to like as kind of like an assurance on your survival of whatever it is that you're going through, whatever. And I think I'd want to partition that a bit more. And again, like I think the language is unfortunate, but yeah, that seems reasonable by itself.
Yeah, and it's just a really interesting thing that again I think would become, I think, less interesting if you state it more clearly, which is people don't kill themselves if they believe there's more coming in this life for them. Which, wow, cool. Like
people die when they're killed. Yeah.
People who believe there's something more that's going to be tomorrow and something good don't kill themselves. Wow, fuck. We better tell those people who are suicidal there's more. I bet you that'll just work.
People who report being frequently sad report being frequently less happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other side that kind of where this also I think depends. I didn't want to talk about suicide and stuff today because it's
my apologies.
It's okay.
We're moving on from it after this.
Yeah, it's my one day a year. I don't like to talk about this shit, for various reasons. But it's one of those things that you'll also find commonly that people who have decided that there is more on the other side, and they talk about this a little bit in this study, but very specifically in the Bussing, the THG 5-item self-report, that part of it is also not just there's more for me or God will get me through this or something will get me through this, but that there's something waiting for me on the other side or whatever that is. So people come to peace with death through this as well. So it's, and that's something that a lot of people who ideate suicide, it's one of the things that also drives them towards that, as well as more extreme actions like, mass shootings.
Mm-hmm. It is the 21st now, so it's not that day anymore. Just,
I know.
Okay.
I know, but I mean, it is still. I'm having.
You haven't slept yet. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, so it's still the same day, but that's fine.
All right. Well.
Overall, it's a very interesting study. And again, let me just say my comment because I have to, and you can kick me the fuck off the stream because I'm useless. Fascists don't give a shit about anything here. You can correct them a million times. They don't give a fuck. Sartre nailed it when he said that the anti-Semite delights in the fact that they don't have to use truth and real language. They get to play with it because we, on the other side, have to take words seriously because we care about them. They do not care. They're happy to let us fight and shit ourselves and scream, and then they will laugh at us as they maintain and gain more and more power. That's how they work. It's how they've always worked, and it is not different now.
Yeah, but at least Dennis Prager has to look like Dennis Prager. Like that's rough.
He does, and I think some of my favorite stuff is when he talks about how women hate sex, and he just like the stuff that he has to say about his wife.
There might be some confirmation bias there.
Oh,
yeah.
there's so much self-reports in some of the stuff he puts out there. It's amazing. But again, he doesn't care. His goal is to gain power and to ruin everyone else's lives, and they're very good at it, and they're doing it right now. So that's how they work.
Well, thank you for that, Brooks. It actually was helpful.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
For once.
Someday we'll actually do more Duluth.
I know, right? When are you? You're back now, right?
I mean, in theory, the last 2 days, my wife and 2 kids have both had stomach bugs, so I've been kind of running all over the place, and on top of it, working, and just everything's crazy.
Well, I've got ContraPoints to go through this Saturday, so let's touch base.
Oh, I do not envy that. I do not.
Oh, I don't. Don't worry. I don't either. This is going to be pain.
It feels like a 10-hour video, and it's no good, and it makes me sad. This Illuminaughtii thing made me sad. I was mostly uncritical with a lot of her content because I don't really care. Yeah. But now it's like, God damn it. And the ContraPoints thing, same thing.
You know what it is, too?
There's God damn it.
There's something about, like, young people on YouTube are all full of shit, and they're all awful. So it's kind of like, somebody in their, somebody in their 20s does this, like, okay, typical. There's something about it when it's like somebody who's like in their mid-30s, mid-40s kind of thing, and it's like you expect better. It just feels sad and gross and depressing because there's nowhere for them to.
I expect less out of them.
Really?
Like I think you're expecting too much out of the idea of getting older. I'm older. It's not good. It doesn't help. Like you have a bit more experience. If anything, it makes you a little bit more like, wow, why didn't I do stupid bullshit a lot more when I was younger? And
I guess
and get away with it.
Because look, I'm running out of like lifelines to hold on to here. Okay.
No. If there is a lifeline, there is one. It is eternally move into things with good faith and hoping for the best in people, because it is not your fault that they're shitty.
Well, I'm trying. Haven't been pleasantly surprised yet, but we'll see.
Well, you surprised me.
Oh, well, thank you, I suppose.
And the last month has been just wonderful. So
really, you liked all of the Mac stuff, did you?
I hate the drama. I hate all of it. But I like the version of Sunday that's been doing it.
Okay, well, I'm glad.
If I can put it that way. Like, I hate the content a lot, but that's not you. But it's like how you're handling people and talking through things, and you're much more playing the role of what I think you enjoy, which is kind of the semi-professor academic type who's really thinking through things and really hypercritical and analytic about stuff and talking through stuff. And that's the part I enjoy. I enjoy when it's that shit any day.
Well, hopefully there'll be more of that. No more Pisco conversations. I think
I kind of enjoyed that.
I'm not gonna lie, I did too a little bit.
I kind of enjoyed that. I mean, from my position, it was a riot. It was
although, you know, one place where you are wrong on this, that Haas conversation. Oh my god.
No, so I will apologize because I'm not going to say that I deserve all the blame for it.
No, you motherfucker. You deserve all of the blame for that. That was you. That was your fault. I was ready for a bloodbath, and then you appealed to my better nature. And I'm like, no, I will try to save his soul. 4 hours later.
I did not try to save his soul.
No, that's what I took from this. It was.
I said what I specifically wanted you to be very patient and come at it with good faith. And I did not realize how absolutely fucking insane he is.
I felt bad for him. I legitimately felt bad for him at the end, because here's the thing too. There were two things that I was expecting, right? He's going to be like bad faith and performative, which was like I was expecting that so much, or he's going to be ape shit crazy. And it's just going to be...
I didn't expect both in one without the anger.
Exactly. No.
There was no anger. He genuinely, and it was one of the things, I mean, I would love like your like analysis on this. From the outside, it felt like he was genuinely trying to like meet you somewhere, but it was in like a game of Chutes and Ladders where you were standing like on a street corner somewhere and he's playing Chutes and Ladders and he doesn't understand how roads work. Like, everything was him. He was really trying. He really tried. It was so depressing.
His intro statement took a lot of work. That was like, you know what it reminded me of? I remember being super proud in like high school literature class of this awful, pretentious nonsense poem, because we had to write that, and thank God they were anonymous. And I remember like just being crushed when the professor was like, okay, now what does this mean, class? Is this actually saying something, or is this just trying to be... Oh, well, that's what it felt like.
But it was worse than that. So like I did that. I was also the pretentious asshole who like really tried to use big words. But
I got bad news for you. No, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no. It's I'm still a pretentious asshole who uses big words, but I do understand them now. At the time, I was very aware that I did not understand them, and I was using them to seem smart. Whereas I think Haas believes he understands everything he's saying, and he doesn't at all. Like he's a victim of like someone who has taught themselves things.
Yeah.
It's like how for a long time I called Foucault that instead of Foucault because I'd never heard it said out loud. And that happens. I mean, fucking.
Oh, that's ubiquitous. Like, look.
But no. But that's what this is if you don't have people to really deal with. Talk about Max Weber, for example, right?
Oh, this is growth. He was calling him Weber forever. It's Weber now.
Well, I do that to upset you because it's funny. But even just not the pronunciation, the dealing with the terms and how state is used and what he's talking about throughout the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have someone else to discuss that with and you're kind of running around in your own brain and you argue with yourself, you end up where he is, which is there is a real discussion happening between Haas 1 and Haas 2 that is like down a path somewhere that I would kind of love to journey a little bit, but I don't think we can reach him anymore.
He's too insecure. He can't handle it. That's the sad thing about it. Like, you know what it reminds me of? Because and I mentioned this in my opening statement, like he's clearly not stupid. Like the stuff that he's doing, even though it's nonsense, it's not nonsense because there's no brain power going into it. It's nonsense because he's in such an echo chamber that at no point do any of his like sentences run up against a question like, hey, can you actually explain what this means? So at no point in his life has he done this. So his sentences are just like a bunch of black boxes. It reminds me, I remember editing like a paper for a friend, very talented girl, but she had a very bad habit. She would read people like Judith Butler and Wendy Brown, who have like infamously long and tortuous sentences that if you're not like really sort of familiar with that, they can be kind of impenetrable. And she would use phrases sort of like that and kind of refer to like, I don't know, like, fuck, my brain is not working right now. The gendered as like a category or something. I would just refer to that without like clarifying what is actually meant or something like that. And I would have to say like, okay, well, maybe stop with these long sort of repetitive seeming sentences and maybe like break down in simple terms, like you're explaining to a child what does you actually mean, and that will help make your essay a lot more clear. Because I understand there's a thought process going on here, but it seems like you're taking on a complex sentence and deploying it like it's a clear word in an argument. And that's going to make it, so that's what Haas was doing. But
and again, and this is, if you want something like that's really awful, and I do apologize genuinely, because I know that at some point you would have turned on. I'm still kind of glad you didn't, because I think it kind of has led into an arc since then.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to Vosh.
No, I'm not apologizing to Vosh. Fuck that guy, because he should have fucking said at least anything during that debate. He was fucking playing like Nintendo game. He doesn't give a shit. He followed that. He had his phone out.
He followed that better than I did.
It was. But I will tell you, I watched, and a lot of what you did is literally like I was almost curious, like a lab animal. I wanted to keep talking and going. Okay, keep chasing. I wanted to see how deep the rabbit hole would go, and it kept going because everything with him is so deeply circular within himself that it was almost astonishing to watch how he would dance around making sure he wasn't explicitly circular, right? Like he figured out a way to phrase it so that way, no, you don't, you would correct him and he'd go, no, and his brain would immediately sort of kick into gear. How do I explain something else? And it would just add another block and you'd be like, oh, what the fuck? Where did you turn left? And he's there already. It's when we deal with, and I think I see it a lot more than most because I run a fucking 3,500 person Deleuze server. Deleuze and people who read Deleuze are the kings of this because a lot of people simply don't understand some very basic stuff within Deleuze, to say the least. And so there is a need I have, and this is probably not something I should probably encourage in other people because it's probably not healthy. There's a need I have to follow that, where people, when they start talking about, okay, well, wait, so is capital just a body without organs? Now that sentence is, the answer is fucking no, but it's not a total no. It's a kind of no. And I need to really talk to you about stuff in order to get there. So it becomes like this long nightmare, long conversation. But this is like, it's that feeling of like, look, you kind of are sort of getting somewhere. You're actually not stupid. And I think actually a lot of his thrust is in even the right direction. I think he has fascist overtones for sure.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what it is, it's, you know, when I was into Ayn Rand for a long time, you and I have talked about this. And when I first actually met someone else who was into Ayn Rand, and they were part of the Objectivists, and they were members and all that. And I realized it was that moment that destroyed it for me, because I realized I had interpreted everything she ever wrote completely wrong. Like, I had given it other thrusts and other meaning that simply wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
I gave her an enormous amount of credit for things that she had not given any thought to. And that's my fault. That's the way it goes. But it was really fascinating. Yeah. I found it fascinating. I'm sorry it was boring, and I do apologize. Because it was horror, but it was, I think, really fascinating, and it is the kind of thing in like a year I will want to go over it with you.
That might actually be interesting to just kind of like go over like in a low stress environment, because like this is something else too. Like just tracking that in real time with the audience is so stressful, because I'm like, okay, I'm in a bit of a bind here. I've set myself up to try and take this seriously, but I'm trying to thread a needle through a tumbleweed from hell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you know what he reminds me of, like that whole thought process. Did you ever see that movie Black Dynamite?
Of course.
Of course you have. You know what scene I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, it was like that. It was
You
like
know
like that cubed. That's what was going on.
It is, and it's, but again, underneath it, a lot of his thrust, and I've been watching Haas for a long time because I found him both hilarious. I mean, I found him hilarious in so many ways, and just entertaining. But behind a lot of it, he kind of has this core thrust that I empathize with greatly, and it is the idea that there is a general classism with, we'll say, the gauche or lower class, and shitting on them. The poor, the stupid, the ignorant. They don't know what's good enough for them. Look at how dumb they are. People do this with Trump voters all the fucking time.
Yeah.
All the fucking time. And it's deeply dismissive. It's deeply dismissive, and I hate it. So
naturally,
again,
of course, he became a Leninist.
well, if you have that core thrust and his version of like MAGA communism, that's actually one of the core things, is that he still believes there is this populism amongst the for better or less, the lumpen proletariat, that is being sort of mistaken by the fascist, and he's not wrong in any of that. Like, these are things, he's got a general analysis that I agree with to a significant point.
I would say you were right maybe a year ago. I think something happened between then and now, and he's just kind of broken. And I think
it was what's his name, the other shithead, becoming full mega fascist. Yeah, that ruined him. That broke him.
Well, because he didn't have anybody to bounce off of anymore. He was now, I think he's not friendly with them anymore, is he?
No.
He seems very isolated lately. I don't think I've seen him involved with anybody in forever.
No, he's again, he is an ideologue, and he very much believes in what he believes. And that's why I thought the whole thing was really interesting, because you get to kind of watch someone flounder as they try to justify their beliefs that they can't justify, but they have to, because they've basically, due to capital, they've got all of this money and time and everything invested. And like, literally, you're putting them on the point that they don't know how to do basic definitions. And it was, I found it really interesting, but I'm a horrifying person who, like, I dissect children's movies for fun. So like, I'm like probably one of two people who enjoyed that whole thing. But, and I do apologize. I do think overall, though, the idea of being in good faith has actually served you well since then, significantly too.
Well, I mean, after doing that one, it's significantly easier with everybody else.
See, it was a good thing then. I no longer apologize. I received it.
I still hate you, though. All right.
All right, I'll go.
No. What was you were gonna say something?
No, I'm not nothing. I got nothing. You should do a reading and talk of Sartre's Anti-Semite and Jew. It's phenomenal, and I picked it up, and I have a couple other books that I think you might enjoy about the ending of the Weimar Republic.
Sure. What is it?
So I bought like 9 books. I've been on this hunt specifically for. So all the history books tell the same story. Weimar Republic, end of days, kind of is two sides fighting over young, angry men. On the one side, you have the Nazis, no surprise. On the other side, you have the communists, no surprise. The interesting thing is, I can go find all of those Nazi speeches and their propaganda. You can't really find it for the commies, because a lot of it was destroyed, the people killed, his records weren't really kept. So from like 1929 to 1932, or even earlier than that, I want to know, I want to know what the commies said. Like, what didn't work? Like, I want to know how much are we mirroring all of that.
That's interesting. I hadn't even thought of that.
And it turns out there are almost no books, almost almost no books, I think might be a really fair way to put it. I got one. It's upstairs. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's probably the closest we have. There's two history books. I'll get you. None of them are in PDF anywhere. They don't exist, which is a shame. One of them is in print. The other one was the one I'm most interested in. Is there was only like 500 copies made. I happened to get one of them. It was printed concurrently with it, and what it was is an American who'd been living in, end of times Weimar from like 1919 to like 1930, left, and he wrote a fictionalized story about what it was like to live there during that decade.
That's interesting.
And it is incredibly interesting. And there's no information on the dude beyond this. He was a reporter, so there's like a few articles, but I have no idea what his biases are. He seems sympathetic, honestly, to the commies, and he very much is like, the whole thing's written as like a warning against the Nazis, which you didn't see a lot sort of in that
well,
time
no, you
period.
didn't. And like something else too, like and I've mentioned this before, as a defense of Carl Schmitt, because like if they had followed Carl Schmitt's advice, the Nazis quite likely would have been stamped out before they got there, except for the fact that they weren't stamping out the Nazis, they were stamping out the communists, and they wanted to use the Nazis, which is why Hitler got into power. So unfortunately, it's kind of Carl Schmitt's fault. But,
it is.
Well, not exactly,
to
a bit. Look, the guy became a Nazi and worked under Hitler as one of the most celebrated philosophers of the Reich. So he's just fuck him. He's a good political theorist and a horrible human being. Seems to be a lot of those. You gotta scan that thing, Brooks.
I know I do.
You have a duty to mankind.
It's my like sixth, like first edition I have that doesn't exist anywhere else, and I'm like, they're really good shit. I'm trying. I will see if I can get a few pages scanned and sent over so you understand kind of why I find it so utterly fascinating, and maybe read a section or two because they're really.
Well, it's probably long enough, so you know what? Feed it to me section by section, and I can probably just go through that. That might actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I just need to find a way to get it.
Is it going to be like? Is it going to be like destroyed if you try to scan it?
I don't know. It depends on how I do it. So we'll see.
Your phone snapshots could probably work too,
Phone snapshots will generally work. I'm trying not to break the binding, so it's
that's the thing.
Because it's an old hard printed. You'll see. I'll show it to you. It's a stunning old copy of something that literally will never exist, but also went into public domain as of this year. So I may just fucking reprint the fucking thing myself.
That would that'd be fantastic.
We'll see if I can find out who the fuck has rights to it, because no one ever knows any of this shit.
Or we could just photograph the thing and just put it on LibGen.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And I'm in. Oh no, I can't upload it in Canada. I'm not any safer. I can download it in Canada. Can't.
Oh no, I'll upload it. It's fine. I have servers overseas for all that stuff.
Sunday, did you ever upload that book I gave to Libby? I haven't yet. But I will see if that can be arranged. Serious. Oh, what time is it? Oh shoot, it's like 1:18. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. Have a good night, Brooks. We'll chat again soon. Let me know. Let me know when you wanna. We'll continue Anti-Oedipus soonish. And
let me know. We do our readings every Tuesday. I started them again this week, and we're moving into chapter 2. So chapter 1 would be lovely for me to sort of recount and go over again and again. So we can do that.
Okay. Sounds good.
It helps. And chapter 2 is a fucking nightmare, man.
Well, I haven't gotten there yet, so.
Well, you need Freud and Lacan, and ideally Klein. Some Reich would be lovely.
Say Klein or Quine?
Klosowski. Melanie Klein.
Melanie Klein. I don't even know.
Psychoanalyst who followed in the footsteps of Freud. Kind of built on a lot of his theories. Ultimately came up with the concept of partial objects that Lacan and Deleuze make great use of, and Guattari, of course.
Okay.
It's all good stuff. But yeah, we'll chat. I'll be around. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Got a lot of guests tonight. Alright, well, that counts almost as 3 things we covered. What else have we got? Shall we finish with something else? I haven't gotten many super chats today. How late do we want to go? I could be persuaded. I'll tell you what. It's been a slow week. If anybody wants me to continue, I'm tired, but I will stay up and do something. Because I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow, because I have some errands to run and a video essay to make. So the Rosa Luxemburg video, I've decided I'm going to turn into a short video essay, which I will attempt as much as I can to get up by Sunday. So I'm going to be working on that basically all day tomorrow for as long as I'm able. I'm guessing it'll probably be between 10 and 15 minutes. And then on Saturday we have the ContraPoints video and the responses to it, and we're going to be spending a, unfortunately, long time on that. It's the one ContraPoints video per year. It's an obligation. We must take it seriously. Well, I have to take it seriously because this is my job. 10 gifted. Damn. Thank you, Brooks. Much appreciated. Although I feel bad with that, because you were contributing to the content as well. Alright, well, let's do something else before we close off. We'll do one more thing. We'll do something that's not miserable. What do we have here? I need to clear this playlist at some point. I have like over 1,000 things here just from just stuff I've saved for. Oh, here we go. I saw this one. I don't know what it is. I know nothing about it. But it caught my eye for reasons you will understand as soon as I put it on the screen. And it is short, 13 minutes. Will I have something to say to this? I have no idea. Maybe I'll have nothing. Apparently Destiny's fine with just literally re-uploading other people's things and just playing Factorio in the background, so if I have nothing to say, I suppose I can just do that. Although I don't like stealing from smaller creators, because I have a soul, so I'm not going to do that. But this is Fighting Cosmic Horror with Charts and Graphs by That Dang Dad. I have no idea who this is. I have never heard of him before. Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson are 2 of my favorite filmmakers because they create cosmic horror films with something very, very special. Love. Well, that's nice, but I'm deeply confused. Fighting Cosmic Horror with Charts and Graphs. I have no idea what this is about. But this is the kind of title that's like, oh, this one's for me. Someone make me an intro like this. I want an intro like this. Do it. This intro is just excellent.
Hey there, welcome to That Dang Dad. My name is Phil, and tonight we're
Hi, Phil.
Returning to the topic of cosmic horror, but this time through the eyes of 2 indie filmmakers, Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson.
Ooh, I love those 2. Thank you, The Problem, for the $14.99. Going to be excited to see your ContraPoints thoughts and if we have similar criticisms. Oh, because you enjoy my pain too, don't you? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll see. I'm going to have to try and get some sleep before that one. That's almost 2 hours long. I infamously spend 2-3 hours on a 15-30 minute video, so it's going to be the long haul.
If you're not familiar with their work, don't worry. I want to talk about a thematic connection that I noticed that only requires me to spoil like the first half of 4 of their films, so you can still have the pleasure of seeing how things ultimately turn out.
I like this guy's voice, but he also sounds like he's trying to seduce me, so I'm a little bit uncomfortable.
But here's my elevator pitch for their work, just to kind of whet your appetite. Moorhead and
I
Benson
said the word wet. Don't do that.
explore the terror of unknown dimensions beyond our understanding without relying on goopy tentacle monsters, and instead focusing on how confrontations with the inexplicable affect flesh and blood people and their relationships. This past weekend, I watched their latest film, Something in the Dirt from 2022, and I noticed something in it that started scratching at my brain a little. The premise of the film goes like this. Levi is a kind of down-on-his-luck bartender getting ready to drift out of Los Angeles. He puts all his stuff in storage and he rents a dilapidated apartment to be a temporary shelter for a couple of months until he can figure out his next move. His neighbor, John, is a divorced math teacher whose life may or may not be falling apart. One day, while the two move a couch into Levi's apartment, they notice a quartz ashtray begin to float and give off an unnerving resonant hum. This being Los Angeles, the two, of course, decide to make a documentary about it. The film follows their attempts to record and ultimately understand the thing haunting the apartment. There's a scene partway into the film where John explains one of his theories about what's causing the phenomenon using equations and symbols he's drawn on a door frame. In fact, one of the major recurring motifs in the film is John and Levi's conflicting theories about what's happening and how that affects their friendship. But for me, the reason this started scratching at my brain is because it took me back to Moorhead and Benson's 2019 film, Synchronic. In Synchronic, New Orleans paramedics Steve and Dennis encounter several bizarre deaths, such as a man stabbed with an antique sword or a woman immolated in a room that otherwise has no fire damage in it. When Dennis's daughter Brianna disappears at a drug party where people are taking a drug called Synchronic, Steve buys some himself to find out how it works. And it appears that the drug maybe sorta kinda transports you back in time? Much like Something in the Dirt, Steve begins to film his experiments with the drug, learning the rules of the game and developing a plan to hopefully find Brianna. And when John's diagrams reminded me of Steven's experiments, this also took me back to the duo's 2017 film, The Endless, in which two young men who escaped a UFO cult return to the compound for closure. They discover strange phenomena happening in the woods, and they spend their time exploring the area and learning the rules of those phenomena. Which of course brings me back to the duo's debut film, Resolution, from 2012. In this film, a man named Michael travels to a cabin in the woods where Chris is deep in the throes of drug addiction. Michael decides to kidnap Chris at the cabin to force him to quit cold turkey, but during their stay they begin to notice, you guessed it, weird phenomena. And, you guessed it, they begin trying to map it out and discover the rules. Again and again in the work of Moorhead and Benson, or Benhead for short, regular people come into contact with unexplainable phenomena hinting at worlds beyond our own. Strange spaces between spaces, tips of icebergs we can't even begin to imagine. And again, the characters who encounter...
I think the difference between science fiction and horror when it comes to this is that when in like a science fiction thing, well, that's flickering, in like a science fiction story like this, and I think like the quintessential one is something like Solaris. Exactly this happens. There is an attempt to understand the rules, and either there is a communication, or the rules are discovered, or it becomes intractable. In horror, by contrast, like 1408 is like the quintessential example of this. In horror of a similar kind, the rules themselves break in response to the study, and there's like a kind of resistance by this like heterotopic space against the person who's wandered into it. And so you end up with like a weird the emergence of a personality completely absent any kind of definable agent or like expressive presence, and yet nonetheless like the resistance to those rules gives the distinct and deliberate, because on the part of the filmmaker's impression of like a malicious attitude of the space to the thing. I don't know why I'm going with that. I just thought that was interesting.
Encounter these cosmic oddities, decide to study them.
Like House of Leaves is a good example too. Here's the thing about House of Leaves. Exactly, you can't map the House of Leaves, and the House of Leaves responds to the attempts of the people who are venturing into it to understand it or to find their way in it and things like that. In fact, the most unbelievable part of House of Leaves, just taking it as like a basic horror story by itself, which you can't because it's doing something a little bit weirder than that. But just like take the house by itself. The main character Navidson. So for those who aren't familiar, House of Leaves is a really, it's really difficult to explain, but within the book, there's a story about the quote-unquote Navidson report. And basically, it's this ex-documentarian buys a house, and they discover something weird about it. Its insides are disproportionate to its outsides. It is bigger on the inside by just the tiniest margin than it is on the outside. It's like a physical impossibility. And they find, I can't remember if it's like a hallway or closet. I gave away my copy years ago, which I regret a little bit. They find this closet or whatever that when you open it up, it ends up opening to this endless, dark, house-like labyrinth. It's just endless. It's dark. It's like back rooms type stuff. And it changes. There's like a growl that they'll hear sometimes, and just the whole thing just shifts. Like the paths that you went down before, they don't go there anymore. It's like a giant spiral staircase. Does it go down for miles? Does it go down 20 feet? Changes constantly. And it seems to sometimes react to their presence and to their activities, and sometimes it seems to be kind of dormant and inert, and it allows them to kind of like explore and even to return. And the most unlikely part of that story, because they establish that kind of reactivity, is that Navidson is able to go in for the first time, get lost, and find his way back out. Because that seems like... Haunting of Hill House 2? A little bit, but they kind of... The Haunting of Hill House has an ending that I think is more ambiguous than people think. What they kind of establish, because they say, like in the TV series, so the Haunting of Hill House isn't really haunted by ghosts. It's itself a type of being that consumes, that like digests people by making them kill themselves. Using the images of dead people from before, but it's treated as if, no, these are actually ghosts. And they go for like kind of like a heartwarming thing at the end where they treat it as if, oh, they're all being united in the house. But here's the thing though. They never really establish that that's what's going on, and that they aren't being like drawn into the maw still. Like it actually is still a monster. So it's a bit, I think they kind of lost their own plot near the end, which is why they give it like that kind of like musical number when they conclude it. But yeah. Have a good night, Semaphore.
Them and figure them out. It's easy to draw parallels to H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. In Lovecraft's work, characters have similar encounters with strange places and ancient unknowable entities, and, as with Benhead's characters, these initial encounters compel the protagonists to investigate them. We see them poring over moldering grimoires and forbidden scrolls for some scrap of information, or they travel to small villages to interview town elders with a knowledge of forgotten things. And often, in Lovecraft stories, this creates a feedback loop that results in the protagonist going too far, seeing too much, and learning something that cannot be unlearned, no matter how maddening it is. While I believe that Moorhead and Benson are creating films that are, intentionally or not, in conversation with Lovecraft's legacy, they bring a unique spin to their stories that elevates their work above mere pastiche. And it all comes down to the characters. With Resolution, we have Chris and Michael, with The Endless, Justin and Aaron, with Synchronic, Steve and Dennis, and in Something in the Dirt, Levi and John. What makes these characters interesting is that nearly
I would add the Lighthouse to this.
all of them are in precarious, if not dire, circumstances. Chris is on the verge of killing himself with drugs. Justin and Aaron have not adjusted to a lonely, purposeless life outside the cult. Steve and Dennis work a difficult, thankless job as one receives a cancer diagnosis and the other believes his marriage is over. Levi has no roots and is constantly in trouble with the law, and John is a divorced, dubiously employed serial liar who may or may not be part of a fascist church. And it is precisely this precarity, this vulnerability that I think energizes these films and gives them something important to say. Because I've known guys like Chris and Steve and John. I've known guys struggling to get by, burning out in exploitative jobs, falling into the cracks of society, and taking risks with their health, managing that pain or loneliness or anger. I've known people, myself at times, who feel like the deck is stacked against them, or who feel like there's this invisible force with a boot on their neck, or who sense that there are systems at work that they just can't plug into. And this is why I keep coming back to the scene of John's scribbles on Levi's wall, and Stephen filming his synchronic trips for research, and similar scenes in The Endless that I won't spoil. The characters in these films have stumbled up against vast, unknowable, completely alien systems, and for some reason, they feel compelled to study them, to catalog them, to trace around and push and prod them. Why would they believe they are capable of understanding the inexplicable, and why aren't they more afraid to poke the bear? In each film, the characters have a high-level motivation for trying, be that greed or boredom or curiosity or even altruism. But undergirding these motivations is this unspoken belief that all of the characters seem to have. If I can map it, I can understand it. And if I can understand it, I can beat it. Whether beating it means escaping it, surviving it, or exploiting it, the characters all have this kind of unearned optimism that anything that can be sufficiently documented can be triumphed over. And as a video essayist and an activist, or at least a would-be political agitator, that impulse and that optimism really resonate with me. Because, in my opinion, that is the seed for political consciousness, both good and bad. I mentioned...
That's, let's see, that's actually something that's more or less explicitly said by Gordon in the 2002 version of Solaris, which is much shorter than the Tarkovsky version. I'm trying to remember which character she's based off of. Let's see here. So in the original book, it's Sartorius. That's it. Sartorius. He's played by the guy who plays the writer in the Tarkovsky version of Solaris. He's played by the same actor who plays the writer in Tarkovsky's Stalker.
Earlier that Benhead protagonists are dealing with precarity and alienation and a feeling of falling.
Oh, did Victoria 3 get an immersion pack? They need an expansion pack to improve the combat system, or the war system, which is never going to be improved.
Between the cracks. I've seen how these feelings and impulses can lead people down different paths as they try to understand a life that isn't exactly going how they'd planned. We always need a story to tell ourselves about who we are and how we got here. We need our lives to make sense. And so, when I watch the protagonists of these films attempt to sketch out the boundaries and mechanisms of the alien phenomena upending their lives, I see a direct parallel to us and the people around us trying to map out and navigate the mechanisms of equally gargantuan forces we can barely understand, forces that are upending our own lives. At the risk of both Amerocentrism and being a...
Honestly, one of the reasons why I like... This is going to sound silly, but one of the reasons why I really like Lovecraft and I like this kind of fiction in particular is that it actually kind of mirrors, what critical theorists are trying to do in, political science and things like that. Because you're grappling with things that are massive. You're unfolding, assumptions that don't just preclude positive lines of questioning and commit you to specific types of thinking that sort of limit your creativity and limit the range of possibilities that are actually there. They also result in essentially zombifying whole communities, because under the assumption that X, Y, and Z are just essentially a part of the human condition and a part of the world and have to be treated as things that just have to be dealt with or maintained, that ends up rendering kind of automatic, like all of the logical upshots of those things. And so you're not actually free from things that aren't actually necessary. You're actually being possessed by ideas that come from you know not where.
Commie soy boy beta cuck, one need look no further than the QAnon movement and the January 6th riots to see the kinds of stories that people tell themselves about why they're so lonely, so angry, so afraid, or just not where they want to be in life. When you look at Donald Trump's rabid fan base, you can see a lot of people who feel like they're being left behind in the world. People struggling with medical debt, underemployment, hometowns falling apart, rising food prices, vanishing savings, a perceived loss of status, and powerful elites who just don't care. His campaign put a story around that, which centered his base as victims of a vast and powerful conspiracy to humiliate them. His campaign promised to teach them the rules of the game and how to overcome their enemies. However, other people on the margins have encountered the same alienation, the same loneliness, the same fear and anger, and often deeper poverty, but reached much different conclusions. They too can feel the slow cancellation of the future. They can feel the vice grip of rent-seeking clamped around the citizen as consumer. They can feel capitalism and white supremacy strangling the life out of the world. But rather than put themselves at the center of a labyrinthine conspiracy, they instead perceive the contours of vast hierarchies and tentacular political systems with a very easy to understand goal in mind, keeping the powerful powerful. Perhaps more importantly, they detect that through solidarity rather than self-centeredness, these hierarchies can be toppled, these tentacles can be severed, and that these systems were built and thus can be unbuilt. Often when you encounter cosmic horror in media, be that Lovecraft stories or horror movies, there's this kind of fatalism at play. There are beings beyond our understanding, we are like little germs to them, the best we can hope for is to be ignored and try not to think about it. And that definitely makes for a delightfully chilling tale or an unnerving work of art. But I do think it's a valid critique of particularly Lovecraft's work that his vision of cosmic horror was born out of misanthropy, racism, and ableism. I can mentally separate the art from the artist, but
I'm not sure I would say it was born out of it. It definitely involves his racism and ableism and stuff like that into it. And stuff that we would recognize as ableism, but it's coming from a different place entirely, where it doesn't recognize... It's not recognize... I mean, it is ableist in the sense that it targets the disabled. Or it targets like ability as like a signifier of the human or whatever, but it's something a little bit trickier than that. It's almost like it's like a fetishized anti-Talos, something like that, where the aberrant from his perspective, being like that which he perceives as being deformed or being of like lesser blood or whatever, that itself has its own teleology that deviates away from and against sort of the human proper, and that is of course like heavily downstream from his racism. But what he does though, which is a little bit weird and interesting even if it's bad, is that he ties this to the influence of other beings, which he then treats as being maybe not even much less, them being in some sense lesser than our own, like his sense rather of like what is the normal, what is like the healthy, what is like the better or whatever, things like that. Maybe those things are actually more true. Now he still pathologizes them. He still leans on these things seeming horrific or degenerate or something like that, but he doesn't actually. A part of the horror is actually deprivileging his perspective of these things. So it is interesting in that way. His perspective is also wrong, and like extremely like cruel and callous and stupid for those for other reasons. But this is one of the reasons why it's interesting. I don't think it's not so much that it's born from his racism, so much as it's deeply enmeshed with it. I don't think the source is the same, but he you know, if that makes sense.
But that disgust for alienness and degeneracy is pretty foundational to his stories. That's why I'm such a big fan of Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. Because they do something I'm not sure I've ever seen another artist do with cosmic horror, and that's create it from a place of love. Their characters don't always behave appropriately, and they rarely pass for model citizens, but they are always painted with dignity, suffused with humanity. If Lovecraft was obsessed with how scary it is to be powerless against an alien intelligence, I believe Moorhead and Benson are much more obsessed with how encounters with the unimaginable affect the emotions of real people and how it changes their relationships, and perhaps most importantly, I detect in their work a curiosity about whether and how people can thrive after such encounters. See, there's a fifth Benhead joint I haven't mentioned yet, 2014's Spring. It's maybe the one I want to tell you the least about, but I'll tell you this. It's a love story. And if you're looking at the other films I've described in this video and you're confused about the cosmic horror guys making a romance film, I get it. But it is a love story, and it is 100% in line with the rest of their oeuvre. Anyway, it's why I'm so confident that love animates their filmmaking. Whatever you want to say about the characters in these films and their questionable judgment, 90% of the time, their encounters with the vast, the unthinkable, even the terrifying don't force them inward, don't make them look out for themselves, but rather, these encounters compel them to work together, to take care of one another, to protect each other, to try to find a way forward, a way to live, a way to thrive. Like a cosmic horror protagonist, I want to understand the shape and the rules of the invisible systems interfering with my life and the lives of the people that I care about. I read books about them, I watch videos about them, I listen to podcasts about them, and I talk about them with other people out in the world. And sometimes it's really easy to see a system that is powerful and ancient and seemingly untouchable and think that maybe this is just the way it's always gonna be. That maybe all you can do is hope that it doesn't come for you next. But that's Lovecraft protagonist talk. And I don't want to be a Lovecraft protagonist. I want to be a Moorhead and Benson protagonist who has the audacity and the optimism, unearned or not, to believe that better things are possible.
I want to talk to this guy. That was actually really good. I really enjoyed that. That was a fantastic video. And it's only 3 days old. Someone, this is That Dang Dad. I want to chat with this guy sometime. I think that would be fun. We should do that. Have a good night, everyone. If you appreciate what I do, like and share the stream. I have a Patreon linked in the description if you want to really help the channel move forward. I have, there are perks, there are mugs featuring Professor Squiddleton, as you can see here, because that's what you need in your life, clearly. And I do video essay requests for top tier patrons and stream requests for tier 3 patrons. And a lot of you have not actually availed yourselves of these things. So if you're already a patron, let me know, because I'm feeling kind of bad here. But yeah. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.